All right, deputies, if you are ready, I am ready as well.
Yeah, ready, Your Honor.
All right, good morning. It is approximately 11:23. It's January 1st of 2024. My name is Judge Marcus Thorpe, and we are now streaming live on YouTube. If you're having trouble hearing me, ladies and gentlemen, as we go through this, please let me know because there are a few things that I will need to go through with each of you today. And please listen carefully as it will help you to better understand the nature and purpose of today's proceeding. First, ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, let me say that I'm not here to try your case, take a plea, or have any legal discussions with you about the specific facts of your case. The purpose of today's first appearance hearing is to inform you of the charges against you, to advise you of certain rights, to set the bond on those offenses for which the court is authorized to set bond, to schedule a preliminary hearing, and to also determine whether you require the assistance of an attorney. Ladies and gentlemen, you have the right to remain silent. Please do not attempt to tell me specifics about your case or any legal defenses you may have. As I said, this is recording live, and so be careful about some of the things you tell me specifically about your case, because of course there are law enforcement around you. I am here as well as others, and those of other individuals that are around you as well that are unfortunately incarcerated has now become witnesses to your case. During this and all other proceedings, you have other rights as well. You have the presumption of innocence. You have the right to an indictment by a grand jury for felonies or by accusation for misdemeanors. You have the right to a speedy and public trial by jury, to compel the attendance of witnesses to testify on your behalf, to see, hear, and question witnesses who are called to testify against you, to testify on your own behalf or offer evidence in your own defense, and to have an attorney represent you if you cannot afford one, or I will be able to appoint you one today if you qualify. There are some of you who are not citizens this morning, please let me advise you that these charges may adversely affect your immigration status, and you will need to consult with an attorney if that turns out to be your circumstance. Now, as I mentioned, in addition to advising each of you of what you are charged with, we're also going to talk about bond this morning. Now, some of you all will be able to post what are called unrestricted bonds for your release from jail pending the prosecution of your case. These bonds may be posted in three different ways, either by cash, commercial, or property. If you post a cash bond, that means someone will deliver the full amount of the bond in cash together with any fees that the sheriff's office will hold until your final court date, at which time your cash will be returned to the person who posted it. And so the example I like to use is if you're charged with battery family violence, and I tell you that your bond is $6,000, your first option is to pay either you or someone you know that full amount in $6,000 plus any fees, and then the sheriff will hold that until your case is closed. Now, if you don't have the full amount in cash, the second way that you can post bond is through a commercial bonding company. Now, when you use a commercial bonding company, they will take up to 12 to 15% of the bond amount for a service fee, and that fee will not be returned to you. And so again, the example I use, if you're charged with family violence and your bond amount is $6,000, a bonding company will ask for 12 to 15%, which will be roughly about $750 of $6,000. And that is the fee that they charge that is not returned. Then lastly, some of you all may be able to post what are called property bonds. As long as there is someone who has a net equity in their property of at least 3 times the amount of your bond. And so if your bond again is $6,000, that means they have to have $18,000 in equity in their property. And they would need to bring their deed down to the sheriff's office, who will hold it until such time as your case is closed. Now, ladies and gentlemen, in addition to that, I need for you all to know that each of you all will have conditions on your bonds that you are not to violate the laws of the state of Georgia. In addition to that, some of you all will have other special conditions that will prohibit you from contacting certain people or going to certain places. If you have a no contact provision on your bond, this means you must stay away and have no contact with the alleged victim in your case. You may not call, text, email, write a letter to, or contact through any social media platform. You can't even contact, let me say, family members as well, as that will be a violation. If I order you not to return to a particular location, that means you cannot go back to that location for any reason. If the no return location I tell you not to return to is a place you used to live at with the alleged victim, I'm going to authorize you that upon your release on bond, you need to let the sheriff know, and the sheriff will accompany you within 10 days of your release to pick up any items that belong to you. Now, let me remind you again that you are not to violate these provisions. That means you're to have no contact, you're not to return, because if in fact you do, you may cause yourself to have to be involved in a bond revocation, in which case, you're subjecting yourself to a later felony and or a fine of up to $10,000. Now, lastly, ladies and gentlemen, before we begin, I do want to tell you that we're going to talk about what is called a preliminary hearing. A preliminary hearing is to determine whether there is enough evidence or probable cause to keep you detained on your charges. If you are charged with a felony, you automatically will get a preliminary hearing date. If you are charged with a misdemeanor, you have a right to the hearing, which means you don't have to have it. So if you are charged with a misdemeanor, I will ask you whether you want that hearing or not. If you bond out, whether you are charged with a felony or misdemeanor, that hearing is automatically waived. And again, let me say the purpose of that hearing is to determine whether or not the officer had enough evidence to arrest you. It is not a trial, but you will be there, your attorney will be there, the judge and the officer who arrested you. And that is where they discuss your case. And so again, you have the option to not have that hearing, and then I'll move your case along a little quicker and on to the prosecutor to review it to determine if there is enough evidence. Now, we'll go ahead and we'll enter into the oath for each of you all. Ladies and gentlemen, if you would, please raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the information that you're about to give to this court, as well as any information you provide on your application for court-appointed counsel, is true and correct? And if so, I need each of you to say, I do.
Raise your hand.
I'm sorry, can you say I do one more time?
I do.
Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, each of you can put your hands down.
Ladies,
Deputy, I know we were a little thrown off this morning. Are you aware if there are any Spanish-speaking defendants here this morning?
Yes, they are.
We have three Spanish speakers, and we have 2 admins. Are we able to do the 2 admins first and then the Spanish speakers?
When you say admins, what do you mean by admins?
Non-compliant.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead and give me the first one.
Hey, Barry. Yeah. You, bro.
And what's the first one coming up, Deputy?
What's his name?
That's the first one is Nicholas Simon.
His name is gonna be Nicholas Simon.
Okay.
Come here. Come on over here, sir. Come to me. Stand right here.
Are you Mr. Simon?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Simon, you're charged with 1 count of public indecency. Sir, I reviewed your charges here this morning. We are going to release you here this morning. Now, let me be clear, sir. That does not mean that your case is dismissed or that it is resolved. So whatever your last known address is, sir, before you are released within the next 24 hours, please advise the sheriff's office so that they know where to send your next court date, okay?
It's in Ohio.
Okay, so whatever that address is, please let them know before.
I'm not gonna be able to get there, and I'm not
Yeah,
gonna
how's
be able
he
to
in the
get back.
Oh, unfortunately, I can't be of help there, sir. I'm sorry. But what I can tell you is you will be released today, okay?
All right.
All right, thank you, sir.
Jordan.
Jamal
All right.
Jordan, will be next, Your Honor.
All right.
Done. Hey. You'll come in later.
Yeah, that's on. Go straight to that. See it more. Oh, yeah, Mr. Jordan. I told you, sir. Yeah, right there. No.
All right, are you Mr. Jordan?
No, I'm Yashua Muhammad Rastafari.
This is Mr. Jamal Jordan.
Okay, Mr. Jordan, you are charged with one count of criminal trespass. Your bond amount is 1,500, sir. You do have a special condition, and that's to stay away from the Hartsfield Airport unless you are there for work or for travel. Do you understand that?
Yeah,
Okay, are you working right now?
yeah, I work everywhere. I'm a jack of all
Okay.
trades.
All right, sir. So I am gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer this morning. Because of some things that I have ascertained in our conversation here this morning,
Yeah,
I would typically ask you about a preliminary hearing.
yeah.
Do you understand what a preliminary hearing is, sir?
Nah, I don't really do jail or whatever, so I really don't know what's going on.
Okay. Well, you've been arrested because you were at the airport when you weren't supposed to. Do you
Yeah,
understand that?
exactly.
Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead. I'm giving you a bond amount of 1,500 in case you're able to be released, and I'm
Okay.
gonna set your next hearing date if you don't make bond for February 13th
Uh-uh.
at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Good luck to you.
All right, where I go now?
The deputies are gonna escort you back.
He was an intake. It's an intake. I'll take him back then too.
Sir, did you want to do the Spanish speakers or did you want to wait?
Yeah, one more.
No, we've got the interpreter here. Can you advise? I think I had them. Is it Gonzalez? Gonzalez, Soto,
Should be three. Laguan, oh, you said so.
Laguna, Soto, Gonzalez, and what was the third? Enrique Soto? Is that the three?
Either one.
Were those the three, deputy? Was I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Okay. So Ms. Daya, what we can do is we will go over their rights as a group and then just call them up one by one.
Yes, sir.
You got to turn some. No, 30.
All right, give me 1 second, deputies. I'm just pulling all their paperwork. In the meantime, Ms. Daya, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself to these individuals.
Señores, muy buenos días. Mi nombre es Deyanira Bermúdez y yo voy a ser su intérprete en la mañana de hoy.
Okay. And Ms. Daya, before we begin, if I could please also have you raise your right hand.
Yes, sir.
Right. Do you swear or affirm that the information that you're going to provide here is provided by this court, that you will correctly and truly translate from English to Spanish and from Spanish to English?
I do.
All right. All right. So good morning to each of you. My name is Judge Marcus Thorpe.
Muy buenos días a cada uno de ustedes. Yo soy el juez Marcus Thorpe
And this is your first appearance hearing this morning.
y esta es su comparecencia inicial en la mañana de hoy.
I'm going to speak to you individually, one at a time, about the charge that you were arrested for.
Yo voy a hablar con cada uno de ustedes de forma individual con relación a los cargos que se le imputan y por qué usted fue arrestado.
And then I'm going to advise each of you of your bond amount.
Y luego le voy a informar a cada uno de ustedes cuál es la cantidad de su fianza.
Now, I will also discuss how you may be able to make bond as well.
Yo también le voy a informar de cómo usted podría pagar su fianza.
There are three ways.
Hay tres formas.
One will be if you want to pay the bond in cash.
Una sería si usted quiere pagar su fianza en efectivo.
The second way will be if you don't have it all in cash, you can use a bonding company.
La segunda forma es que si usted no tiene todo el dinero en efectivo, usted podría usar una compañía de fianzas.
And then the final way will be if you or someone you know owns a piece of property with 3 times the bond amount in equity in their property, they can bring their deed to the sheriff and you can get out by handing the deed to the sheriff.
Y la tercera forma es si usted o alguien que usted conoce tiene una propiedad la cual tenga un capital neto que sea por lo menos 3 veces la cantidad total de su fianza, esa persona le podría traer el título de la propiedad a la comisaría.
Now, each of you will have one special condition. If you make your bond, you are not to violate the laws of the state of Georgia.
Ahora, cada uno de ustedes va a tener una condición especial en su fianza. Si usted paga su fianza y sale, usted no puede infringir ninguna de las leyes del estado de Georgia.
Also, because each of you are charged with misdemeanors, and if you are unable to make your bond, I am going to talk to you about what is called a preliminary hearing.
También por el hecho de que a cada uno de ustedes se le acusa de delitos menores. Si usted no puede pagar su fianza y salir, yo voy a hablar con cada uno de ustedes en forma por separada de lo que es una audiencia preliminar.
If either one of you cannot make your bond and you are still in custody, you have a right to a hearing where you will be present, your attorney, the judge, and the police officer who arrested you.
Si alguno de ustedes no puede pagar su fianza y salir, usted tiene el derecho de tener una audiencia donde usted va a estar presente, su abogado estaría presente, el juez estaría presente y el oficial que lo arrestó.
At that hearing, the officer must tell the judge all of the evidence he has against you.
En esa audiencia, el oficial le tiene que informar al juez de toda la información, de todas las pruebas que tiene en su contra.
It's not your trial,
Esto no sería su juicio,
but it is a hearing you're entitled to determine if there is enough evidence against you.
pero es una audiencia a la cual usted tiene derecho para determinar si hay suficientes pruebas en su contra.
Or each of you have the option to tell me when I ask you that you don't want that hearing and you would rather I go ahead and move your case directly to the prosecutor and to move your case quickly so that you can get it over with.
O si usted también tiene el derecho de decirme cuando yo lo llame y le pregunte que usted no quiere tener esa audiencia y que me permite programar la audiencia, o sea, transferir el caso a la fiscalía para que el caso se procese más rápido.
Now, I would like to have up first Mr. Fernando Gonzalez.
Ahorita yo quiero que la primera persona que pase es el señor Fernando González.
And deputies, Mr. Gonzalez, I do not see a court-appointed form for him, or I don't see one for.
Oh, they need assistance.
I don't see one for Laguna. So, oh, no, I do see one. So I don't see one for Mr. Gonzalez, and I don't see one for the other Mr. Soto either.
Need assistance.
Y a los alguaciles, yo no encuentro lo que sería la solicitud para nombrarle un abogado para el señor González y para el señor Soto.
Hey, Your Honor, they cannot read it.
I'm sorry. Let me correct that, deputy. I see one for everybody, but Mr. Gonzalez.
Y para corregir con los alguaciles, yo tengo todas las solicitudes excepto la del señor González.
So he will need to fill one out so that I can provide that to the correct people.
Yeah, he can't read it, Your Honor.
Oh, okay. I
Yes,
got it.
sir.
Got it. My apologies.
No,
All right. So, Mr. Gonzalez, you are charged with one count of suspended license.
Señor González, a usted se le acusa de un cargo de manejar con licencia suspendida.
You are charged with one count of DUI.
Se le acusa de un cargo de manejar bajo estado de embriaguez.
And you are charged with one count of driving with an open alcoholic container.
Y se le acusa de un cargo de tener un envase alcohólico abierto.
The bond amount for the suspended license is $1,500.
La cantidad de su fianza por manejar con licencia suspendida es de $1,500.
The bond amount for the open container is $500.
La cantidad de su fianza por tener el envase alcohólico abierto es de $500.
And I have dismissed the DUI charge at this time.
Y yo le he desestimado el cargo de manejar embriagado en estos momentos.
Now, let me be clear, sir, that does not mean that this charge may not come back, but as of today, the DUI has been dismissed.
Pero déjeme aclararle, señor, esto no significa que el cargo de manejar embriagado no le podría ser imputado de nuevo, pero hasta en estos momentos está siendo desestimado.
Now, I was explaining earlier about what is called a preliminary hearing, sir, and that would be where you have a right to a hearing, where you, the judge, and the police officer will be present to go over your case. Would you like me to set that hearing and if you are unable to make your bond, or would you like me to skip that hearing and go directly to the prosecutor so that your case moves quickly?
O sea que, señor, yo le estuve explicando anteriormente que lo que una audiencia preliminar es una audiencia donde usted, el juez y el policía estarían presentes. ¿Quiere usted que yo le programe esta audiencia o quiere usted tener esta audiencia? O sea, que le programe la audiencia o quiere usted que yo le cancele esta audiencia para que su caso pueda ser transferido si usted no puede pagar su fianza.
Yo prefiero la audiencia para pagar mi fianza. Yo quiero pagar.
I'd rather to have the hearing and to pay the bond. I would like to pay.
Okay. Now, if you are unable to pay the bond, you said that you would like to have the hearing. Is that correct? I want to make sure I understand you.
Si usted no puede pagar su fianza, usted me dijo que usted quiere tener la audiencia. Yo me quiero asegurar que lo estoy entendiendo.
Yo quiero pagar mi fianza.
I would like to pay my bond.
Okay. But if you are unable to pay your bond, I need to know, would you like me to set that hearing date for you or to skip the hearing if you can't pay it?
Pero si usted no puede pagar su fianza, ¿usted quiere que yo le programe esa audiencia?
Ok, sí.
Okay, yes.
Puede que no pueda.
Okay. So what that means, sir, is if you don't make your bond, your next court date is going to be February 13th of 2024, and that's going to be at 8:30 a.m. and that's going to be via Zoom, okay?
Okay, señor, lo que esto significa es que si usted no puede pagar su fianza, su próxima audiencia estaría programada para el 13 de febrero a las 8:30 de la mañana y esto sería vía la plataforma de Zoom. Okay?
And I am going to appoint you a lawyer to be there to help you through your entire case.
Y yo le voy a designar un abogado para que esté ahí, para que le ayude durante su caso, todo su caso.
Okay. Está bien.
Do you have any questions about anything?
¿Tiene usted alguna pregunta en relación a alguna otra cosa?
No me dijo el total.
Perdón?
El total de mi fianza no me lo dijo.
You didn't say what was the total on my bond.
Excuse me, I apologize. It's $2,000.
Lo siento y me disculpo, es de $2,000.
Ok, está bien.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. Anything else I can help you with, sir?
¿Hay algo más en lo que le pueda ayudar, señor?
Esto está muy bien. Gracias.
That's all. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Next up, I will have Mr. Laguna Soto.
El próximo sería el señor Laguna Soto.
All right. Now, Mr. Soto, you are charged with one count of driving without a license.
Señor Soto, a usted se le imputa un cargo de manejar sin licencia de conducir.
Sí, exactamente.
Yes, exactly.
And I am going to release you here today, sir.
Y yo lo voy a poner en libertad acá en el día de hoy, señor.
Now, that does not mean that your case is closed. So please make sure that before you leave, we have a good address for you here at the sheriff's office.
Esto no significa de que su caso está cerrado. O sea que antes de usted marcharse, asegúrese de darle una dirección válida a la oficina del sheriff.
Perfecto, sí.
Okay.
Perfect.
Now,
yes.
deputies, because he's being released, please make sure he signs a waiver.
Okay, make sure you sign away.
Yes.
Okay.
And then lastly, I have Enrique Soto.
Y finalmente tengo a Enrique Soto.
Okay. Are you Mr. Soto?
¿Es usted el señor Soto?
Enrique Vargas Soto.
Enriquez Vargas Soto.
All right, so Mr. Soto, you are charged with one count of reckless conduct, which carries a bond of 2,500.
Señor Soto, a usted se le imputa un cargo de comportamiento imprudente, lo cual conlleva una fianza de $2,500.
You are charged with one count of discharging a firearm under the influence, which carries a bond amount of 2,500.
A usted se le imputa un cargo de disparar un arma de fuego bajo estado de embriaguez o bajo los estados
And then
o
you
bajo la
also,
influencia, I'm sorry,
Go
Your
ahead.
Honor, o bajo la influencia del uso de drogas y su fianza es de $2,500.
and then you are charged with one count of discharging a firearm near a highway, which also carries a bond of 2,500 for a total of $7,500 in bond.
Y también se le imputa un cargo de disparar un arma de fuego cerca de una carretera, lo cual también conlleva una fianza de $2,500 para un total de $7,500.
Now, I am going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer here this morning for your case.
Yo voy a proceder y le voy a asignar un abogado de oficio en la mañana de hoy para que le ayude con su caso.
If you do not make your bond, would you like to have the preliminary hearing that I mentioned, or would you like to skip that hearing and have me send your case to the prosecutor if you do not make your bond?
Si usted no paga su fianza, ¿le gustaría a usted que yo le programe su audiencia preliminar, la cual yo mencioné? ¿O quiere usted que yo le renuncie? O sea, para que usted no tenga esta audiencia preliminar y que yo envíe su caso directamente a la fiscalía.
Sí, ajá, si no puedo pagar la fianza, me hace esa cita, ¿verdad?
If I cannot pay the bond, then you will make that appointment for me.
Okay. Your next court date, sir, if you don't make your bond, will be February 13th of 2024 at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom.
Si usted no paga su fianza y sale, señor, su próximo día en la corte va a ser el día 13 de febrero del 2024 a las 8:30 de la mañana mediante la plataforma de Zoom.
All right. Thank you, sir.
Gracias, señor.
Judge Thor, we have
Yeah.
one more Spanish speaker.
Okay.
Villa de Maya.
I didn't hear the name. Who?
Her name is Patricia Villa de Maya.
I did. Are you Miss Patricia?
Es usted la señorita Patricia.
Okay. So, Miss Patricia, you are charged with one count of battery, which has a bond of 3,500.
Señorita Patricia, a usted se le imputa el cargo de agresión corporal, lo cual conlleva una fianza de $3,500.
You are charged with one count of disorderly conduct for a bond of 1,500.
Se le imputa un cargo de alterar el orden público y eso conlleva una fianza de $1,500.
And you are charged with obstruction, which carries a bond amount of $2,000.
Y también se le imputa el cargo de impedir el trabajo de un oficial, lo cual conlleva una fianza de $2,000.
Your total bond is $7,000.
La cantidad total de su fianza es de $7,000.
Okay. Now, you do have special conditions, ma'am. You will have to stay away from Blanca Lopez.
Señorita, usted tiene una orden judicial que dice que tiene que mantenerse alejada de Blanca López.
You will have to stay away from the address of 4738 City View Drive.
Y tiene que mantenerse alejada de la dirección de la 4738 City View Drive.
So if that's where you live, ma'am, please understand, if you make your bond, you will need the sheriff if you need to return to that residence to get some of your items.
Y si ahí es donde usted vive, señorita, si usted paga su fianza y sale, usted va a necesitar hacer una cita con el sheriff para que le acompañe a retirar alguno de sus artículos.
Now,
Okay.
because you are charged with misdemeanors, ma'am, I need to ask you, if you don't make your bond, do you want that preliminary hearing that I discussed earlier?
Por el hecho de que a usted se le imputan cargos por delitos menores, yo necesito preguntarle, Si usted no paga su fianza y sale.
Or
¿Quiere
I,
usted tener esa audiencia preliminar de la cual yo hablé anteriormente?
or I can send your case to the solicitor and it will move your case quicker if you like.
O yo puedo enviar su caso a la comisaría y su caso se procesaría más rápido, si usted así lo desea.
¿Puedo tener probation?
Can I be on probation?
Remember, ma'am, this is not the time where I will be able to make that decision. If that is something you would like to discuss, I can send your case to the prosecutor and waive your hearing.
Yes.
Recuerde, señorita, que esta no es algo que en lo que yo puedo tomar la decisión ahorita, pero si usted eso es lo que quiere hacer, entonces yo podría enviar su caso a la comisaría.
Tengo una cosa, yo no ataqué a la señora. En su casa tienen cámaras y ella fue la que salió y me agredió a mí.
I have to say something. I didn't assault the lady. They have cameras at her home and she was the one who came out and assaulted me.
Yo no, ni siquiera la conozco.
I don't even know her.
Okay, so Miss Patricia, I can't talk to you about your case. You don't want to do that right now because this is recorded.
Señorita Patricia, yo no quiero hablar con usted con respecto a su caso y usted tampoco quiere hacer eso en estos momentos porque esto está siendo grabado.
Okay, so what I'm going to do, ma'am, I'm going to go ahead and set your hearing date. If you don't make your bond, your next court date will be February 13th of 2024 at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom.
Ok, señorita, lo que yo voy a hacer es que yo le voy a programar su audiencia. Si usted no paga su fianza y sale, su próxima audiencia sería el 13 de febrero a las 8:30 de la mañana vía Zoom.
Okay, but you do have the option to use a bonding company or pay the entire thing in cash to try to get out before that court date.
Pero usted sí tiene la opción de usar una compañía de fianzas o de pagar la cantidad o el monto total en efectivo para usted tratar de salir antes de esa fecha.
Okay, do you have any questions? Oh, go ahead.
¿Puedo tener un abogado de oficio?
¿Tiene usted alguna pregunta? Can I have a court-appointed attorney?
My apologies. Yes, ma'am. I appointed you attorney this morning.
Lo siento, señorita. Sí, yo le nombré o le asigné un abogado de oficio en la mañana de hoy.
Okay.
Ok.
Gracias.
Good luck
Thank
to you,
you.
ma'am.
Buena suerte, señorita.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Dea.
You are very welcome, Judge. You have a good day.
All right. You too.
Thank you.
All right. All right, Deputy. So I believe first up will be, I'm going to do the female. So it should be Miss Carrie Brianna James.
Gary Brianna James. Gary
And
Brianna James. James, take it in that shirt. Miss James.
And then after Miss James, we'll do Navia King.
No, that's the one she.
Are you Miss James? Ms. James, you are charged with one count of disorderly conduct, ma'am. Your bond amount is $1,500. I am reviewing the information you provided. Are you working right now, ma'am?
I'm a freelance makeup artist.
I'm sorry?
I'm a freelance makeup artist in Atlanta.
Oh. Okay, ma'am. So I am going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer here this morning. So they'll be free of charge to assist you in your case, okay? Okay?
Yes.
All right, ma'am. Let me also remind you, Ms. James, you are not allowed to return to the Hartsville Airport unless you are there for work or for travel. Do you understand that, ma'am?
Yeah, I understand.
Okay, now, the last thing before you go, I spoke about the preliminary hearings earlier. I described those because you're charged with misdemeanor. You don't have to have it. I can excuse it and go ahead and send your case on up to the prosecutor and make it move a little faster if you want me to, or I can give you that court date if you do. It's up to you. Do you want to have that hearing or waive that hearing?
When I have a hearing.
Okay, ma'am. So because you're charged with a misdemeanor, I'm going to set your preliminary hearing date. It's going to be February 13th, and that's going to be of 2024, and that's at 8 a.m. via Zoom. Do you understand that, ma'am?
Yes.
All right. Good luck to you. Thank you, ma'am.
Let Judge know King.
All right. Next up should be Miss King.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Miss King is, we were also unable to find her at this time.
Okay. All right. I was wondering what the continued meant. Okay. Give me one moment, please, and I'll tell you who I've got next.
That's why I said, I need to have some nails on his arm. Let me do it real quick. She got me to touch me from back down. What's that? See, 2024, it's gonna be grind on. What was that? Making miracles.
All right, so we do not have Miss King. Let's see. We will continue. We're going to continue. So please bring Miss King up tomorrow. We'll go ahead and continue Miss King. After Miss King, I have Miss Zaria Lee, L-E-E. Lee, L-E-E. And then after Miss Lee, I have Montague as the last name. Are you Miss Lee?
Yes.
Miss Lee, you were charged with 1 count of theft by receipt of stolen property. Your bond amount is $4,000, ma'am. Because you were charged with a misdemeanor, you have a right to that preliminary hearing, ma'am, or you can waive that hearing. What would you like to do this morning, ma'am? Would you like to have that hearing or waive that hearing? I'm sorry, Miss Lee?
Can't speak up.
I'm not sure.
Well, actually, I apologize, ma'am. I had to, let me look over your warrant again. I actually am gonna have to appoint you that hearing because you're charged with a felony. So my apologies, ma'am. You have to have that hearing because of what you're charged with. So let me tell you what that means. That hearing is if you don't make your bond, it's a hearing where you'll be present, the police will be present, your attorney, and then you're all gonna go over the evidence that they have against you and determine whether there is enough evidence for your case to move forward up to the prosecutor. If a judge doesn't believe there's enough evidence, your case is dismissed. If they believe it is enough evidence, then your case will go forward and your court-appointed attorney will assist you on your case from there going forward, okay? Do you understand, ma'am?
Yes.
Now, I see here that you're making, it says about $3,000 a month. So unfortunately, I am not going to be able to appoint you a court-appointed lawyer here this morning. And so, ma'am, if you desire to have an attorney on your felony charge, you will need to hire your own. Do you understand that?
Yes.
All right, ma'am. Well, unless you have any questions, ma'am, that's all I have for you. Good luck to you. Next up should be Miss Montague. Are you Miss Montague? Miss Montague, you are charged in this particular matter with 1 count of battery family violence, ma'am. Your bond amount is going to be $3,500. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now, in this particular case, ma'am, you do have special conditions. And that's to stay away from Miss Talib Bay Ruqayyah, R-U-Q-A-I-Y-A-H, and the address of 1304 Candler Court. So as I said earlier, Miss Montague, if that's where you live or were living prior to this, ma'am, you will need to go ahead and make sure that you remove any items if you make your bond with the assistance of the sheriff's office. You can't go over to that place by yourself. Do you understand that? And understand you are not working right now, ma'am?
No.
Okay. So I am going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer this morning to assist you on your case. Do you understand that?
Yes.
Now, lastly, I talked earlier about the preliminary hearing. Do you want to have that hearing, ma'am, if you don't make your bond, or do you want to waive it, and then I'll send your case straight up to the prosecutor and move it quickly?
I'll waive it.
All right, so I'm going to show that you waived your hearing. So the deputies there, ma'am, are going to have something for you to sign, and once you sign that, you'll be good to go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up, I have Miss Roberta Nelson, and after Miss Nelson, I have Adrian Rooks. Are you Miss Nelson?
Yes.
Miss Nelson, you're charged with one count of aggravated assault. Your bond amount is $25,000. You're to stay away from the alleged victim, Mr. Ricky Bell, and also the address of 5918 San Gabriel Lane. Do you understand that, ma'am?
Yes.
Your next court date, ma'am, is going to be February 12th of 2023 at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. And I have appointed you a lawyer this morning free of charge to help you on your case, okay?
Okay.
All right, ma'am. Unless you have any questions for me, that's all I have for you. All right. Next up should be Miss Rooks. Are you Miss Rooks?
Yes.
All right, so Miss Rooks, I am looking at your information here. You're charged also with one count of aggravated assault for a bond amount of $25,000, criminal damage to property for a bond amount of $3,000 for a total of $28,000 in bond. You do have special conditions, ma'am, and that's to stay away from Michael Perry, as well as the address of 5906 Pine Glen Court. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, I have appointed you a court-appointed lawyer, ma'am, who will be here to assist you on your case. Your next court date, should you not make your bond, will be February 12th of 2023, ma'am, and that's going to be at 8:30 a.m., and that will also be via Zoom. Do you understand that? Ma'am?
Yes, sir.
Okay, my apologies. That's all I have for you, ma'am. Then good luck to you.
Ladies, here we go.
28,000, ma'am, total. All right, that should be all of the females. Is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, so next up, I have Twan Alexander first.
Man.
Hey, give me that dude in house in 3.
Yes.
And I believe after Mr. Alexander is Eric Alston.
What's the last name?
Alexander?
All right, you Mr. Alexander?
Yes. Sure.
Mr. Alexander, you're charged with one count of driving under the influence of alcohol. Your bond amount is $3,500 after the DUI. You're also charged with laying drags. That bond amount is $1,000. And then finally, you're charged with one count of open container for a bond amount of $500. Your total bond is $5,000. Now, I do not, Deputy, see did you sign any work this morning? Right before you came to court? Did you fill out anything?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Let me look again. Was it just before you walked in or about 20, 30 minutes prior?
About 20, 30 minutes after.
All right. Give me 1 second, Mr. Alexander. I'm just looking for your paperwork here. Are you working right now, sir?
Yes, sir.
And where do you work at?
I work for Caliber Auto Glass.
How long have you worked there?
Going on 1.5 years now.
About how much are you making per month?
About 3,600.
Okay, I see it here. All right, sir. So based on the information that you provided, Mr. Alexander, here this morning, I am not going to be able to appoint you a court-appointed lawyer, sir. And so what that means is if you would like a court-appointed lawyer on your case, you will have to go ahead and hire your own. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, you are charged with misdemeanors. And what that means is you have a right to that preliminary hearing that I discussed earlier, or you can skip that hearing and I can send your case on up to the prosecutor immediately, where it'll move a little quicker with your assistance of your lawyer. Would you like to have that hearing or waive that hearing?
I waive that hearing.
All right, sir. So the deputies there are going to have a document for you to sign. Once you sign that document, unless you have any questions for me, sir, that's all I have for you this morning.
Oh, sir, that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go ahead, bro.
All right, next up should be Alston. Are you Mr. Alston?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so Mr. Alston, you are charged with one count of obstruction and one count of battery family violence. The obstruction charge carries a bond amount of $2,000 and the battery family violence a bond amount of $8,000 for a total of $10,000 in bond. Sir, you do have a special condition, and that's to stay away from Shania Jones. as well as to also stay away from the address of 512 Vaughn Drive. Do you understand that, sir? And so what that means is, as I was saying earlier, if this is where you live, sir, you're gonna have to make sure that you stay away from that address until such time as your case is resolved. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, now looking at the information you provided here this morning, sir, I am gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer to help you free of charge, okay?
Yes, sir.
Lastly, as I talked about earlier, you were entitled to that preliminary hearing that I mentioned, or you can waive your right and I can send your case on up to the prosecutor, which makes it move faster. Which would you like me to do? Set that hearing or waive that hearing?
Set that hearing.
All right, sir. So for you, because you were charged with misdemeanors, that hearing date is going to be February 13th at 8:30 a.m. and that's going to be via Zoom, okay? Again, that's I'm sorry?
It skipped February what?
February 13th, 8:30 a.m., and that's going to be via Zoom. So if you don't make that bond, your next court date with your attorney will be February 13th at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom, okay?
What's your last name?
All right, Mr. Alston?
Yes, sir.
All right, good luck to you, sir. Next up should be Mr. Eric Bridges. Are you Mr. Bridges?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Bridges, you are charged with one count of possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, stalking, and violation of a family violence order. Now, sir, looking at the information that you have provided to us this morning here, I'm showing that you are currently on probation here out of Clayton County. So I am not going to be able to give you a bond as it relates to the felony charge. As it relates to the violation of a family violence order, your bond amount, however, is going to be $5,000 in that particular charge. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes.
Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. Are you currently working?
No, sir.
Okay. When was the last time you held a job, sir?
Been over a year.
Okay. So based on that, Mr. Bridges, I am going to go ahead and appoint you a lawyer here this morning free of charge that will help you on your case. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, you are going to have 2 court dates here coming up. You're going to have one that will be your preliminary hearing date, and then you're going to have a second, which will be your bond date because you have a no bond status right now. Your preliminary hearing date is going to be February 12th of 2023 at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom, and your bond hearing date is going to be February 16th at 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Do you have any questions about anything, Mr. Bridges?
No, sir.
All right, sir. If you don't have any questions for me, that's all I have for you, sir. Good luck to you.
All right.
Thank you.
Nah, I still got a court date coming up.
Give me 1 second, sir. All right, sir. What's your last name? I'm sorry.
Griffin.
I can't hear you, sir.
Griffin, Griffin.
Okay, Griffin. Okay, give me 1 second, Mr. Griffin. Almost done here. Do we have a Melvin Davis? Or did he not make it up? I had a Melvin.
Davis got it, but they sent the wrong day.
I'm sorry.
Melvin. Hold on, give me 1 second, sir. Melvin Davis got continued.
Did Melvin Davis not continue? Okay. All right. And you are Mr. Griffin, is that correct?
Yes.
All right. So Mr. Griffin, you are charged with 1 count of driving with suspended license and 1 count of failure to yield upon entering the roadway. Sir, I've reviewed your information here this morning. We are going to go ahead and release you here this morning. Now, that does not mean that your case is closed. I need you to understand that. That simply means is that you're being released. And so what I need you to do before you get out of here this sometime today, sir, is that you understand that you make sure that they have your address wherever you'll be living and be getting your mail, okay?
Sir.
Because that's where your any paperwork will be sent about your court date to whatever place you give them, okay?
Sir.
All right. Do you have any questions about anything, sir?
Sir.
All right. Well, that's all I have for you then, sir. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You go.
You can head back to 7. No, it was 7.
Yeah.
All right. Give me 1 second, sir.
Henderson.
You're Mr. Henderson, is that correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right. So, Mr. Henderson, just give me 1 moment here.
Okay. That's a all right. Really get upset. Yeah, as soon as he president, he said he was just the same. Shit.
All right. So, Mr. Henderson, you were charged with 1 count of criminal trespass. Your bond amount, sir, is going to be $3,500 on this particular charge. You do have a special condition, sir, and that's going to be to stay away from the alleged victim who resided at this particular address as well. That person being Alexandria Henderson. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
You're also going to have to stay away from this address as well, that being 5195 Boulder Crest Road here in Clayton County, okay?
Okay.
Okay, sir, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. I did.
Okay. Now, do you have any questions about that so far with what I'm telling you here?
Yes, I do. That's my mom's location. And my sister just moved in 2 days ago. That's why she did this. But I don't think she's gonna be staying there much longer. Does that still apply if she moves up?
Well, as of right now, sir, until such time as that is changed or your case is closed, you're gonna have to abide by that stipulation that I've gone ahead and made there, okay? Now, if it turns out that in fact what you're saying happens, and there's the opportunity to change that so that you could move back into that address while your case is still pending, I would tell you to please let your lawyer know that, so that they can then discuss that with the prosecutor and with the judge who will be working on your case.
I'm
Okay.
sorry, you had went out for a second. Can you repeat that?
I said, if it turns out that what you are saying is correct, and that in fact she does move out, I would make sure that your lawyer knows that. And so then that way, they can talk to the judge about it, who will be over your case. And then at that point, you all can talk about changing that bond order. But until that happens, you can't go back to that address unless you're there with the sheriff, okay?
Okay.
Now, let me ask you one other thing. You were charged with a misdemeanor, which means you have a right to a preliminary hearing, or you can waive that hearing. What would you like to do here this morning, sir? Would you like to have that hearing or waive that hearing?
I'll waive that here.
All right, sir. So that means the deputies there are going to have some paperwork for you to sign. And once you sign that paperwork, that's all I've got for you. Again, you have a bond of $3,500. You're to stay away from Miss Henderson and that address over on Boulder Crest. You have waived your preliminary hearing. And then let me also tell you, I've appointed you a lawyer here this morning free of charge. Okay?
Appreciate you.
All right. All right. Yes, sir. Good luck to you. Next up should be Jordan Lewis.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Are you Mr. Lewis?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Lewis, you are charged with 2 counts of violation of the Georgia Controlled Substances Act. 1 count of possession of a firearm during the commission of a crime, 1 count of contributing to the delinquency of a minor, and 1 count of loitering or prowling. The 2 BGCSA charges each carry a bond amount of $3,500 apiece. The possession of a weapon, $8,000, the delinquency of a minor, $2,000, and the loitering or prowling, $1,000. Your total bond amount, sir, is going to be $18,000. Now, based on what information you provided to me, sir, I am not going to be able to appoint you a court-appointed lawyer. So what that means is, if you would like a lawyer to help you on your case, you will have to get your own. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Lastly, if you don't make your bond, your next court date is going to be your preliminary hearing because you're charged with felonies, and that's going to be February 12th at 8:30 a.m., and that's going to be via Zoom. Do you understand that, sir?
Yes, sir.
All right, that's all I have for you, sir. Good luck to you. Next up, I have Stephen Madaris, Madaris.
There, come on. Mr. Jamal.
Are you Mr. Madaris?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Madaris, I need to advise you, I believe you're already in custody on something separately. You don't have to answer that. However, these charges against you based on insufficient evidence provided by the law enforcement on this one are being dismissed. So as of right now, these charges are going away. Doesn't mean they will go away forever, sir. They could be changed. But as of today, these charges are dismissed. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
All right, good luck to you, Mr. Madaris.
Thank you.
All right, next up should be Elijah Skilling. Elijah Skillings, Skillings. Are you Mr. Skillings?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Skillings, you are charged with 1 count of criminal damage to property and then 1 count of battery family violence. In my review of your history, sir, the initial charge of battery family violence as a misdemeanor is incorrect because you do have a prior. And so actually now you are charged with felonies, 1 being the criminal damage, 1 being the battery family violence, which is now going to become a felony as well because of that prior. I need you to understand that I'm going to appoint you a court-appointed lawyer this morning. Your next court date is going to be 8:30 a.m. via Zoom. Your bond amount for the criminal damage is $3,000. Your bond amount for the family violence is going to be $8,000 for a total of $11,000. Okay.
I already did it.
All right. If you do make that bond, sir, you do have special conditions. You are to stay away from the alleged victim, Miss Marie Williams, as well as the address of 612 Gardenwood Drive. Do you understand that?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. Do you have any questions for me, sir?
Could you repeat that court date again?
The next court date is going to be February 12th of 2024 at 8:30 a.m.
Appreciate it.
All right. Yes, sir. Next up, I have Mr. Smith, Diego Smith. Mr. Smith, you're charged with 1 count of disorderly conduct for a bond amount of $1,500, 1 count of obstruction for a bond amount of $2,500, and 1 count of crossing a roadway for $500 for a total bond of $4,500. Because of the information you provided this morning, I am going to go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer here this morning to help you. My next and last question for you, sir, is because you are charged with misdemeanors, you have a right to a preliminary hearing, or you can waive that hearing and I can go ahead and send your case on up to the prosecutor. It's up to you. Which would you like to do? Would you like to waive that hearing or have that hearing?
I like it to be waived.
All right, sir. So I'm going to show that you've waived your hearing here this morning. So the deputies will have a document there for you to sign. But again, you have a bond amount of $4,500, sir. That's all I have. Good luck to you.
All right, do not step behind an officer, wait till she leave out.
Give me 1 moment here, sir. Are you Mr. Townsend?
Yes, sir.
All right, so Mr. Townsend, you are charged with 1 count of disorderly conduct. Your bond amount is $1,500. I am gonna go ahead and appoint you a court-appointed lawyer to help you this morning on your case free of charge to you. So you don't have to worry about that. The last question I have for you, sir, is would you like to have your preliminary hearing date or would you like to waive it and have me just send your case straight to the prosecutor?
Yes, just waive it.
All right, sir. So the deputies there will have a document for you to sign. Once you sign that document, sir, that's all I have for you this morning, okay?
All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. All right, I believe that's all we got, Deputy. Is that correct?
Everyone.
That's everybody.
All righty, and I think we had just Davis that was continued. All right.
And King. The
And-
female King that we couldn't
Yes,
locate.
Davis and King. Yes, that's correct. All right. Well, thank you all so much and Happy New Year.
New Year.
All right.